go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MEC Pod, where things are bright. The future is bright. Everything is looking great. I'm joined here with my colleagues. We got Mac here. We got Shibby here. How are y'all all doing? Are you guys feeling good? What's up?
You got those shades to block out the
the future
stars of the MEC.
The future, yeah, the stars are just too bright for the MEC. So I figured, I best come in here safe and prepared. Yeah. I'm making sure cover my eye, wear protection, everyone.
So stay sharp, stay safe.
I'm trying to figure out how to do the get mogged face like a filter on my OBS so that I can, on my next cast, I want to do the thing where they're like, and then swap the filter because I use OBS virtual camera, right? For like to feed my video. So I'm trying to see if there's like a mogged filter so I could just turn into Chad face mid.
You gotta have that bass drop hit where it's like boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
I'm gonna see if I can get that running for MEC playoffs. If somebody, I'm gonna like, dude, this is what happened, right? Like, I don't know, aggression. This is what he did in the top lane. Mogged. I'm gonna see if I get a face filter or some shit. I'm trying to do some cool stuff. I feel like there's so much. I mean, I know he does like the virtual, like VTuber stuff. I feel like that stuff is super unexplored. But then again, if you're like a caster and your whole thing is like doing stuff like remote casting, maybe like once you go LAN,
should we just be VTubers?
Yeah,
dude, I can see now.
Oh, it's Travy. Oh my god,
I couldn't do that for so long, dude.
Wow,
my eyes were actually.
I can see clearly.
Oh, okay. The stars went away for a little bit. Fun fact, actually, on today we're recording this on March 11th. We're getting ready to talk about MEC, even though we didn't have any MEC games. But talk about League and all that other stuff. It's a Monday. We usually record on Tuesdays. I had my eyes done today. So, like, I don't know if you could tell, but my eyes still dilated.
Did you get dilated? Did you get dilated? Oh, bro, you aren't even, like, legally allowed to drive.
Did you press record?
Huh? Yeah. I made sure. I sat here for a good hot minute, just like going through it, just like, okay, I have the button here. Okay, there it is. That's the record button. All right. I actually like did a pre-game setup before I even went to go get my eyes checked.
What do we want to talk about?
Oh, Shibby. You had like a lag spike there. You're
dude. It's been happening recently. I've been having some like weird lag spikes.
So that used to happen to me, actually. Fun fact. We're gonna have a little bit of story time, I guess.
So many fun facts.
Yeah. My old computer, until I switched out my computer, I had that same issue where sometimes my stuff would freeze. I don't know if you can hear us still whenever those freezes happen, but for me, before I switched out my old computer, it was like I could hear everything that was going on, but my camera would just freeze, and it was just like, I took a picture in the moment, right? And then I had to like fast forward back to reality. I was just stuck in the past for like 5 seconds. I had a Quicksilver moment,
So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, we were doing the OQs. And like for whatever reason, I would talk, and then like you would hear my voice, but then like my camera would be super delayed. So I'd still be talking, but like my voice would be gone, and my co-caster would be talking, and like you just see me like getting sped up and shit. Like it's like VMix has been shitting itself recently, or at least maybe it's my computer or my connection. I was gonna ask, what are we actually? I mean, like there was no MEC games. We did our last one with Fat Cat or Fat Dewey or Mac Cat, whatever you want to.
Which one did you like better, Mac? By the way, did you like Fat Dewey or Mac Cat?
Or Mac Cat, Mac Cat. Fat Dewey was pretty funny.
Fat Dewey is definitely like a rogue alter ego caster. And Mac Cat is like Mac post game, where I'm all tired after yelling at the screen a bunch, and so I just like crawl up into bed.
I feel that.
Matt Cat reminds me of just Matt Pat, the game theory dude or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that guy.
I had to like I went in to like find a photo of Mac. I don't know if people notice it because it's just a thumbnail, but the thumbnail for Fat Cat is literally Mac's body with
it's
Yeah,
Mac's
I
body.
did see that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you just plastered his head on top.
I was just like, I'm just gonna slap it on there. There's no need to try and make it look
Yeah.
good.
I feel like the MEC was a lot more whimsical this regular season, right? I felt like there was a lot, or like I don't know, like okay, I don't want to like compare obviously like last year versus this year necessarily, or like one's better than the other. Like I feel like we had a lot more funnier moments this year, like with just like Mike and Dio, bro. Like when Dio came on for the interview in the shades and the chain, like we had some good interviews last year, like really good ones, right? Like with Coda and some of the other guys, but I feel like the MEC's just got a little wackier this year. I don't know. Travysty, I didn't see all the interviews you did. Did you get some like kooky characters this year? That's all I can say.
Yeah. I feel like so you have like a couple people who have came in who have been like, I've been forced here by my team, right? Like you always get those every now and then. Jin Call is one of them. Yeah, get a pentakill, and it's just like shouldn't have got a pentakill if you didn't want to be in the interview, right? Like there's a lot of different cases like that. But we've had it's been a good season. I think whimsical is probably not the right word, but there's been I don't know, there's been some very memorable interviews, but it also I get the idea of why you go whimsical because of how short it feels, right? Because last year we had a double round robin. This time we're only going one round robin. Not many opinions. No mid-season shakeup because of the fact of how short it is. Like remember last year we had a mid-season shakeup where Blonde and Riverside, for example, got swapped around. There's really nothing that's been like out of our control that we've been like, oh, I guess this is happening. It's just been the personalities that we've seen, and also the returning players have been a lot more confident, I will say. So when they've came in for the interviews, like Fat Cat, who has become a lot more confident, is somebody I think of immediately where I'm like, yo, Fat Cat is free to say what they want to say. We've got Marquez over on Purdue Northwest, actually, who's like who's been like so free to talk about stuff. It has been like constantly like he'll hit me up and just be like, dude, I got this idea. And it's just like I'm loving a lot of the fact that a lot of people are a lot more down to have fun with the competition.
Yeah, Dreer's been messaging me too about like he randomly, I think one of the last one he's like you're blessed to not have like Project Ash NA on your timeline. I ended up actually like looking at his timeline. 5 minutes, I was done, dude. I was like,
I can't believe that. I can't believe you went that long without it, dude.
I've been blessed, and then now like I see it more often.
And now it won't leave you because you've looked it up.
Yeah, I've looked it up, so like I've seen it and I'll see some of his stuff. It was like a good 5 minutes, and I was like, yeah, fucking, I'm so glad I never saw any of his stuff. I've seen his stuff, but I didn't know it was him. Right? Like I think people like repost it or like they meme it. Somebody else.
They're reposted a lot of times because there's like one clip that fades around where he's just like, check out my challenger kiting, and it was like he was playing Ash and there was a Gangplank bottom, and it was like this weirdest series. That's how he got known. It was like I have challenger kiting clip that he put onto Twitter, and it was just like a Gangplank misplayed a barrel in a bush. And then he just autoed him, and it was just like it was no kiting involved in it. It was just him shooting arrows. Like
I didn't see that one. The one I see like pretty often is the mid elo or like he like breaks
that's
down
his current arc.
That's like his shtick. That's his shtick. Yeah, or it's a character, I think, or something.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I do not buy into it whatsoever. I think it's just something that he has came up with, and hey, shout out to him if he's able to do it. Like I am glad and disappointed at the same time we do not have a Project Ash NA in MEC.
I was about to say we need a project. We need those kind of like. I need some characters in like some of the areas, right? Like I think they're really funny. Yeah. I think that takeover of like Sniper in the LCS where he's like doing a TikTok dance after winning. He was mocking after he got a 2v1 kill on Olaf. The player cam saw him like mocking somebody. I love it. I love the zoomers and I love like that whole thing. I wish we had more of them in the MEC. We do have like a couple like Wind King and stuff that just started playing, but it does feel like the MEC is a little older or old-ish in a way.
We got some youths.
Young guns.
We got some young guns, some rookies that
Prod.
have come in. I mean, how many are seniors? ONU, even though I feel like
ONU has 3 seniors, I think.
Is it 3?
I think they
I
have
thought it was
3
only 2 or 3.
seniors. It might be 2, but I thought it was 3. I know they have a lot of seniors. I know if you think about it, Briar Cliff, I believe, is the team. They have 3 freshman players actually playing in their roster.
Oh yeah, they like full replaced their roster, right?
That well, isn't PNW's core? Isn't Clexo, Doubtful, Wind King all?
Oh, they're young. They're young. They're like
young. I think they're like sophomore. I think they're sophomore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Doubtful and Clexo are they a freshman duo?
Doubtful and Clexo? I think they're.
Yeah.
I think they're both.
No, I think one of them's a second year. One of them's a second year. One of them's.
But they've been best friends for their entire life, so it makes up for it. Power of friendship.
Speaking of Purdue Northwest, I
Oh.
want to talk about, and we have to talk about it, right? The CLOL Hub
power
rankings.
In the room.
The fucking CLOL. Did I not call that from a mile away, Travysty?
Dude, you and me were both on the same timeline there too, and I told you it was just like Purdue's gonna stay where it is. If anything, I actually saw some of the reasoning that was going into it. One of the people that was on the committee, like they shared their stuff, and they were just like their opinion was MEC is super weak, and I was just like, that's a take, I guess, but it feels weird to call MEC super weak when you keep Purdue in the same exact spot you've kept it in, and all you did was drop down GVU. It's weird to call a region super weak where your top 4 teams have all owned a win against each other.
Well, I think Sean was the one that was like, Sean Atona, I love him, by the way. He's like, I agree that I think coming into this year, I didn't have ISU rated as high. Top 4 ME teams are just beating up on each other with PNW coming out on top. GVU is 17th on the list, so they're just outside. So they're technically outside of the 1 through like 15.
16.
I think they made top 20 or something like that, which I get, but like for ONU to not get in that after just performing for so long is a little weird. Zoo also said it pretty well. It's like Northwood and GVU are always underrated. I think that's true.
That's always true.
I think MEC is underrated, right? I think, and I'll always harken back to last year with the CLOL Top 32. The vote-in team Ottawa ended up beating out Irvine, and I don't think anybody, like other than like us and me, was like confidently saying Ottawa is gonna fucking smash Irvine. The West are frauds, and what happened? They got 2-0, right?
Yeah.
Like Ottawa 2-0'd them. So I mean, I don't know. It's. I mean, I don't put too much credence into the power rankings. I think there's a lot of good people over there. They're very smart, and like I generally agree with most of it. It's just kind of weird that like there's so many games for MEC, but we're like putting other teams on there. Not that I have any like issue with the other teams. It's just like I feel like at top 20 should have all 3 of them until proven otherwise, in my opinion.
It's the thing of like you look back into the past and I'm just like, don't you remember the last time we slapped the West, right? Like, come on now, come on. I get where you're coming from. I think a lot of people's like public opinion coming in was MEC got weaker as well, while other teams got stronger. And I can see arguments for that. But I also look over and I go, all right, yeah, sure. The other teams other colleges out there have gotten stronger, but I don't think it's the teams that they're putting underneath the MEC teams that have gotten stronger, right? Like they're already up there. So it's like a question mark. And I was actually really surprised that GVU was 17th. I thought they were going to go down a couple spots. I thought they would be like bottom ringer. It actually did surprise me they got taken off. But with ONU, Shibby, we talked about it last week. I'm not surprised at all. I said it last week when we had Fat Cat on. The challenger has to fight 3 times as hard and prove 5 times as much for anybody to recognize them, and ONU is a challenger.
Yeah, they're just new. They're not familiar, right? Like Purdue Northwest, because PNW competed in 66 qualifiers. They had like some good showings. GVU's a mainstay name, right? They always kind of perform and show up. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, I feel like it should be like a proven until otherwise kind of situation, but
yeah,
I'm not surprised. You called it like, yeah, we called it like last week when the rankings were supposed to come out. I don't think the power rankings or whatever can handle 3 teams in top 20 for MEC. I just think they think that's like not possible.
Yeah, and is that justified based on how playoffs went last year? And kind of a tricky with last year, ONU was left out. So this is honestly, it feels like an even bigger year than for ONU this year to potentially make up for last year a little bit. So I'll be curious to see how they go about it. It's ONU versus GVU semifinals coming up around the corner, right?
And Ottawa PNW. It's
Ottawa
what we
versus
thought,
PNW.
Right?
So, based on what we've heard from the players during our post-game interviews, and I feel like, you know, if I'm a player in those situations, I'm probably saying something similar. For GVU, they were like, hey, we did not take ONU seriously. And now ONU gets to come back in playoffs. Pretty exciting, and maybe prove that victory over GVU during the regular season wasn't as fraudulent as maybe GVU would like to believe. But we also know that Dreyer and crew are not messing around during the playoffs. So I think it's that sort of, I mean, we're kind of, I think from the perspective of the committee, they're like, okay, sure, ONU. I think they kind of take it with a grain of salt. Like maybe, you know, maybe GVU did just not prep seriously for that game. But I think Travy, to like what your point about the challenger, they have to prove themselves again and again. Luckily in MEC we get a few opportunities for that, and so I'm pretty excited to see how that rolls out. Filling out my votes for the MEC all pro teams was really, really challenging because I felt like sort of across the board, and Travy, you mentioned it, how are we top heavy when our teams are beating each other constantly? How do we rank these players when Strict Proctor beats Pranked? Strict Proctor beats Pranked, who loses to aggression, but then Prank dumpsters aggression.
Yeah,
and
it's like it's a vicious circle.
I was like, this is some tea.
Dude, top lane was hard. Okay,
top lane was really hard.
I'll reveal my first team. It was aggression. I think he was the most consistent, in my opinion, out of all the top laners. 2-3, I don't know. I was like, dude, do I put Prank? Do I reward Prank for what he did? Like, Proctor stepped up later half in the season. Like, he was just...
He was a solid rock. Like, he was a very tanky boy, but it was just like... I don't know. I feel like people also had bad reads on how to deal with Strict Proctor last half of the season. We saw, what was it? Was it Ottawa that did it? Where they banned like 3 tank top laners against them and not a single one of them was like their most played. I was just like...
And then they went the tank v tank matchup?
Right? And then they did tank v tank. Yeah, they did Scion into Cassante, and they gave Cassante to Strict Proctor, who, that's like... I'm pretty sure Cassante is their most played champion throughout the entire season. Why?
I don't know. He plays like Cassante, Udyr, Ornn. He did play like a little bit more. He played the Gnar map that we got to cast, which was kind of cool. And he just like 1v9.
Gosh, the ultimate at the end.
Yeah, the end. Yeah, he just like 5-man slammed him into a wall. Yeah, I think Proctor. I think the cool thing about Proctor is that we saw him first week and like second week, and we're like, okay, he's like all right, and then he just like gradually got better at the role, which was interesting. Or like you could also argue people just weren't respecting him. Top and jungle were the 2 hardest roles for me to fill 1 through 3, and I think any combination of like 1 through 3 is correct. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it was
you can make a case.
Hard for me.
I tried.
Yeah.
It's
despite
hard.
jungle being close, I think my one's pretty good.
Okay, who was
I
your one? Who
It
was
sounds
it?
like you want to spill it.
I kind of want to spill it.
Yeah, go
Shibby
ahead.
did his top for choice
Right.
number 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
I had the same top choice. And then for jungle, I went doubtful.
I did too. I think I did too. I think I
Okay.
did too. I'm pretty sure I did too. And it just feels like I saw many moments of Prod. I'm just like question marking Prod sometimes, where I'm like, what is he doing?
Yep.
And then like Julian as well. I think Julian benefits from the fact that his whole team is very solid, right? Like as a unit. I can't point to a game and be like, yeah, Julian is the best player in this game right now, right? Like it's generally Kato, it's generally aggression, or it's generally, I mean, like once in a while it was Kai, but like I could never find a game for me where I was like, yes, Julian is the difference maker here. Like, whereas with like Castle, he's had a couple games where he's just like jungle diffed, right? Prod even sometimes on specific champions, like you mentioned, doubtful as well. I think any of those four at 1 through 3, you could argue, but I think Ottawa's,
Yeah.
Purdue Northwest's, and GVU's junglers were 1 through 3 in any
Yeah.
order. I think. Travysty, what did you have for first for jungle?
I put doubtful. I was doubtful as well.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
doubtful was just all around the most consistent. I think Castle was also like me. My big one too
They
was
were-
Castle and doubtful, because I was just like, all right, Castle's very consistent and never the reason his team loses. And I said the same thing about doubtful. I was just like, doubtful actually is never the reason his team loses either. But I see
Yeah.
more carry potential from doubtful, which is why I edged him over Castle. I think Castle's got like a great champion pool at times when it comes down to those carry performances. I think the Lee Sin performance, whenever we see Castle break that out, whenever rarely as that happens, I think Castle shows that they have the aptitude to carry, but they have to the way that the GVU's team works. I don't think it gives Castle that platform to really show off like high carry performances like it does for everybody else. I think Doubtful has a little bit more chaos in the side of their drafts, and they don't rely on like that 15 to 20 minute like we're gonna start team fighting you and just win because we're better at hands checking you.
I will say, and we can like I'll segue into the next role. The way that I view Doubtful Klexo is like 65-35 or like 60-40, where it's like Doubtful's doing more in my opinion than Klexo. In that same vein, GVU, I put Jinkall as my number 1. I think I put Jinkall as my number 1. And I think I put Kato as my number 2. Jinkall does more in the Castle Jinkall duo. So like that's why when I think we talked about it right last week, where I was like, if you put Prod and Jinkall together and you put Doubtful and Kato together, right? Does it make a difference, right? Is there like, or you put Castle and Klexo, like, does that make a sizable difference? And I kept looking at it and I was like, I think Jinkall sometimes just lane diffs, and like Castle kind of plays for Jinkall a little bit more, where he's not allowed to be flashier, but he's just there to kind of make sure Jinkall gets prime to carry. So like Jinkall, I think, was my number 1.
Did you guys, and I have to ask this and before we go on to the next lane, because I already know our junglers, right? In top lane, because you guys did talk about a lot of those. Did y'all take anybody out of the top 4 into your top 3? Like anybody outside of top 4 teams?
No.
Ooh, maybe
I did.
third team
You
all
saucy
pro.
boy, Travi. You saucy boy, you.
Third team all pro. I might have. I have to look.
I'm pretty sure.
I can't find my results.
I'm pretty sure third team. So third team. I checked on this because I was making sure. Because I know my first was aggression. I put aggression as my number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, I did put Prank, because I do think that even though Prank had bad performances throughout the season, I think he's just played to what his team has needed, and I feel like he's given more to his team than other top laners have. Third, I actually put Quick Slice.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
I
could see it.
Dude,
I can see it, but wow.
Quick Slice is a very young player. I think they're a sophomore. Young player. They're performance on carries champions, I actually think that if they continue to grow, they will be a threat inside of MEC. And I wanted to take a moment to kind of highlight that because I think Quick Slice is very excitable to watch. He's the only person who is willing to play TF top lane. He's the only person really playing Gwen top lane in a league that has Prank in it. Like, there's a lot of...
Oxy had some Gwen.
Oxy had some Gwen. And Oxy was actually somebody I even considered to put inside of my top lane list.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel right putting Strict in there because I'm sorry, Strict. But I think the champion pool is very limited from Strict in what tanks they can play. And the tanks that they do play, right, they're kind of... There's a big difference in their tank play on certain ones. Like, their Cassante is really good, right? But when I see them, like, shift over to other things, they tend to, like, their Cassante, Udyr's great, and then there's, like, a big fall-off whenever they go into the Nets tanks. And I'm like, all right, your Udyr Cassante hits. I know you got put top lane. I know they tell you don't feed, you know, all this other stuff. What else you got for me? Because if you're playing tanks, I want to see... I want to see a consistent performance on those tanks. I want to see something like you would see if you're going to measure them up and compare them to like a pro, right? Pro players that play inside the top lane, inside their leagues, inside their divisions, or even inside of like amateur leagues. If your top laner is a tank player, they're usually very consistent with throughout the entire champion pool that they play, right? Like you look at somebody who's even one of the weirder tank top laners out in amateur, like Alorum.
I was thinking exactly Alorum.
Like,
I picked up on the psychic wave. Yeah.
He's consistent.
Got the Urgot.
Yeah, like he's consistent on all the tanks that he plays. And you ban out Urgot, you think that's a threat. It has the Sejuani, that you think that's a threat. Yeah. Well, then they can play Scion just as good. They can play the standard tanks just as well. So I want to see more of that from Strict, and that's what made me knock him down. And I put him kind of in my 5th. And then for 3rd, I was actually having a battle out between them and Otzi. Because Otzi at least draws bans, too.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that was the thing. I was going to put Oxy as 3rd, and I was like, well, he just gets banned out a lot. I don't know how much credence I can put into that at the same time. It's funny that you guys mentioned Alorum, because, like, the tragedy that is Mirage Alliance this season is, like, it's so sad. That's, like, a whole nother topic. And, consistency for... Alorum as like a tank player, it's just like I get what you mean, but I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, Mirage Alliance sucks this season. Like, yeah, I know they do. Like, they're really bad this season, unfortunately.
There's a time where they're good.
Yeah, it's not like they haven't been able to perform on tanks. Mid lane, I think Jin Call was my 1, and then I think I had like, if you had any combination of like Doubtful or Kato, I think those were like the 2 and 3. No offense, I just couldn't put Riverside / Blonde because both of them didn't play enough games for me to like really.
They didn't have any pop-off games. I'm gonna put it right there.
Blonde had like that Draven mid into Seraphine. That was in the LeBlanc.
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah,
the Draven Seraphine game. I do remember that, but
that was some crazy shit that he was doing.
He was doing some cyberbullying.
But here's the thing, right? Like then I look over at Riverside and Blonde, and I'm like, what did they do against teams that were in the top 4? Oh yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Like that was my big thing with
the lower teams.
I was just like, Ottawa is like against the lower teams. Blonde and Riverside were putting down a masterclass. And even inside their game,
they were running clinics.
Their game against was it GVU game where Riverside came in at the very end? Was that? There was like an Akali game where he went like 1-1-1 or something like that. He was perfectly fine, but it's just like you didn't do anything.
You didn't do nothing. Oh yeah, I mean, they might turn up in the playoffs. It's weird because Killian didn't even play in the Ottawa game. It's fucking Dio.
Yeah, it was
Dio.
Just
the funniest thing. It was Dio.
It was him, Dio.
Was 80 carry hard for you guys?
I have a quick comment on jungle.
Oh, go ahead.
We did talk about Doubtful versus Castle a fair bit. I do want to shout out Castle because I feel like his champion pool is completely different from where it was last season. And I feel like GVU as a whole are a lot better at playing in the early game and I feel like that's due in part to Castle. So shout out Castle
yeah.
is very
Oh, yeah.
close between him and Doubtful for me. In
Same.
1 and 2, and just like watching them square off. I was watching the replays. I think Castle versus Doubtful is going to be one of my favorite
Oh.
matchups. I mean, just that mid 2v2 between PNW
Yeah,
and
yeah.
EDU. If they meet, we'll see.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
well,
I would be very
in
excited
theory,
to see that.
Yeah, in theory, right? Like they could meet. I think it's cool that we'll eventually like get some sort of losers. We'll get at least 2 instances of one of the matches we've already had, right? So
Yeah.
it's like very
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
like
we
I
want to talk about bot. I just wanted that little
yeah.
caveat
80
to
carry?
shout out Castle, who's I think had a,
Well, before we
a
move
really
on to
solid
AD
season.
carry, I did want to ask you guys:
for
did anybody have Jinqual not number 1?
I
think it
out of
was-
us,
Yeah.
out of
he
us,
was
I don't.
number one
I
for
didn't.
me.
He was one. He was fuck. There were some games where he quite literally put the team on his back. Like just did you put Kato? Do you put Kato? I know you've been a Kato fan.
I put Kato number 2. Jinqual was number 3 for me.
Who the fuck is one?
I put
Klexo?
Klexo. I put Klexo number 1.
Wow. No.
I was just like,
No,
we can't
like,
go over
this
this.
is
I could go
No,
into
like,
the
I don't
night.
have any shade to. I don't have any shade to Klexo, but
Travy
like,
ends podcast, and that's the show.
I was
See
like,
you.
we can't
Why-
go past this because
why?
we're not all united on
Why?
Jinqual number 1. So
Why?
Klexo,
Dude,
so here's the thing, and this is something that I have said. I got a little hopeful for Jinqual in the early bits, and this is the unfortunate part of me not being able to split apart this season from last season when it comes down to Jinqual. I think as a player, Jinqual is great still, right? And I did think when I looked over at the tape, when I was going over the top 3 players, right? I was like, all right, I got these players in here. And I agree that Jinqual has hard carried their games, just like Kaido and Klexo has had those performances. I think Klexo, as a mid laner, if you take him off of the team, Purdue Northwest actually gets considerably worse because Klexo moves around actually a considerable bit. And my biggest complaint I've always had from Jinqual is, yes, Jinqual is a team fighting god and nobody will take that away from him. I think he's probably the highest DPM inside the league this season. I don't have that stat officially, but I wouldn't surprise me if
We're
he
a
did
betting
have
man.
that. If I were a betting man, I would bet on Jinqual having highest DPM, had a pentakill inside the season, not on Smolder, like was great at being able to do
Asterisk.
that. I do think Jinqual's great, but I look back at last season and I see the same gameplay and the same criticism that I had from Jinqual in the previous season kind of carries over, where I see Kaido has grown actually as a player. I think Kaido's been very instrumental. I think Kai has taken the back seat inside of Ohio
Yeah.
Northern,
Yeah.
and Kaido
Yeah.
has actually
Yeah.
stepped up massive inside the mid lane. I think Kaido's been phenomenal, and then Klexo, my reasoning for Klexo is just the fact that Klexo has so much more impact on the map pre-20 minutes. I think Klexo can still do stuff after 20 minutes, but I think if you look over to GVU, if GVU loses, Jinqual doesn't do anything early. If GVU wins, Jinqual didn't do anything early. There's no semblance of change. There's no semblance of anything changing around there where it's like Jinqual does that. But I think Jinqual is valid being number 1. I feel like it's me looking at the last season and be like, I
Yeah.
don't feel that. I don't feel that growth that I want to see out of a player.
I'll
Interesting.
say, I think I kind of can understand your like perception. I just feel like people caught up to Jinqual. Like Jinqual's just been like a solid half a tier above most of the mids in our league consistently, despite whatever, even last season or this season, right?
Jinqual was
Klexo,
king.
yeah, Klexo is interesting because he's got some really like late game decision making. Like sometimes I'm just like baffled by what he does. Good and bad. Sometimes he'll like just win you it, like, but like also I feel like Jinqual has the meta champion pool and then he has his own stuff. Like he always, I know, backs against the wall, You 5-ban out Jin Call, the dude's gonna fucking pull out Syndra. And he's actually gonna have like a good game.
If you ban out
Or
5 champions from Jin Qual and you don't ban out Syndra, I'm catching a flight.
Well, okay, like what's meta right now? Imagine what's meta right now, right? Like Azir, Nico, Corki, Ari, right? And then it's like what? Syndra is thrown in there. Yone's thrown in there.
Yone,
Like
Talia, right?
Talia. Like you're telling me that
Twisted
Jin Call
Fate.
can't play?
TF,
Yeah, you're telling me Jin Call can't play Talia or Syndra if either of the ones like you know
yeah,
what I
he's
mean?
consistent. He's got a very solid champion pool. It's just I haven't seen that champion pool change in 2 years now.
I mean, I feel like Klexo's just been spamming Azir. I don't know if it's just me. I feel like he plays a ton of Azir, and Azir is disabled right now. And like, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know how deep Klexo's champion pool is.
I've seen
And
him play
he
a
can prove me
couple
wrong.
crazy.
He's played
things,
Nico.
Yeah.
He's played Nico. He's played-
Silas.
Mhm.
He has played some Silas. He has played some Silas. Nico, Azir, and like Silas, I think is what I've really seen. But mostly the Azir Nico, because they like to run like the Nico plus like Nocturne or Nico whatever, right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Doubtful on something more proactive.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I feel like I said, like in a 5-game series, I want Jin Call because I know he'll just
Yeah.
take any mid matchup.
I get that.
I'm
I
so
look at the carry
curious,
potential.
Travi, how that ranking makes me that much more curious who you got 1 and 2 for bot support.
Oh goodness.
Because if
gracious.
Let's
GVU
go 80
6
carry.
who's winning it then for GVU, Travi? I feel like it has to be some of these bot laners.
It has to
Because
be
if you're
Nightdawn,
telling me
right?
no one from GVU made it to first team,
That's
no,
wild.
no, but they didn't make bot lane. Not for me.
Pluto's my #1 support.
Is
So-
he?
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
Are you
let's
kidding
talk
me?
about 80
Let's
Let's talk about 80 carry.
You want to
let's
go
talk
to
about
AD carry
80
first, or you want to go to support? Because I feel like we just segued into support for a moment there.
Fine,
Because
fine,
support's
let's go
the more
support.
important role, guys. Do we not learn anything from the tier list?
All right. So you have Pluto #1.
Yeah.
Shibby, you sound like you don't agree with Pluto being #1. Tell me why.
Dude, I think unironically, if I look at like who
Support
think
was interesting. Support was really
if-
close for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
if
good
I
supports.
remember correctly, I have to look at my votes. I'm sure
Check
I
the
know
record.
I can't find them, and I'll find them eventually. Like I think Hyper will publish them to us specifically. I know I had Pluto in there, based off memory, because I had to do it off my phone because my fucking computer was like bricked this week. Like it was just I got it fixed
True.
Saturday. Like I had to
That's
fix it
right, yeah.
Saturday. I did it off my phone. I think I had Plux 1 and Pluto 2. I think Plux individually as a support has just been a monster. Like I think Otto's bot lane, let me put it out there. Otto's bot lane has been head and shoulders above the rest of their team in my opinion.
Mhm.
That I just think it's criminal for me to not put Plux as like 1-2. I think I had Pluto Plux or Plux Pluto as 1-2.
Okay.
3 I could not tell you who my third support was. It literally could be anybody on that top 4. I liked Plux.
I think Cuz deserves a
Yeah, Gus
Nah,
definitely
I
deserves
don't-
a shout out, but I think
Shout out.
the problem is like I thought about Cuz and then I feel like Cuz actually kind of got overshadowed a little bit because Tango had such a banger sub in performance. I feel like a lot of
Interesting.
people
That's-
like Tango
that's
actually
wild.
popped off so hard in their like because remember how important that weekend
Yeah,
was for
yeah.
them and Tango popped off taking down Drury and Grandview with a sub.
huge.
So
He's
it
got that
almost like
arm.
it almost devalues Cuz in a way.
It did.
because
Inside of my mind
Because it's
because I'm
like,
like, I can't stop. I can't think about Cuz without Tango.
Well, it's because Tango slotted in and they still won. So it's like, can any support slot into ONU's bot lane
It's like
and just kind of do it? I mean,
it's
yeah.
it's
Next.
it's like you broke up with somebody you were with and you got back
Mhm.
together with your ex during the time period and eventually you get back together with that girl you were with beforehand, but you can't forget your ex that you were with that time. There was a moment
Speaking
there.
from experience,
No, but I'm just saying an analogy that will fit our demographic,
unrelated.
Shibby.
I think an analogy that'll fit our demographic. It's like you were looks maxing, but then you started Riz maxing. And you didn't realize which one was better, and you realized both are important. So you did both looks maxing and Riz maxing. I think that's I think I used those terms correctly. I don't fucking know. Let me know in the comments.
But I mean, it's that's how I felt about Cuz. I looked over and I was just like, every time I thought about Cuz, I was like, but Tango though.
I just can't pings Tango on Discord. I just can't get you off my mind.
I just can't stop thinking about you.
Yeah, I think I had some combination. It was either Pluto 1 Plux 2 or Plux 1 Pluto 2. I can't. Once the votes come out, I'll probably publish them. Or my own votes. I won't expose anybody else. I'm not like that. But...
Mac, who did you have? You've already revealed one was Pluto.
Who's your two?
2 and 3.
I actually forget that Pluto just stands out in my mind.
I can tell you my 3 because my 3 doesn't have Pluto.
Wow, I knew it. You know, actually, I knew it because you talked about Pluto like having some like Plute-int games or some shit. You
there's a couple of games where he goes like 0 and 13, and it's just like, all right, man.
But he's like engaged support, like he's Pluto.
Here's the thing about Pluto. Okay, you can put them on engaged champions: the Rakan, the Rel, the Nautilus. Right? There's your 3 champions that are the most Pluto things you've ever heard. You're getting. He is going to, like, if he's playing Nautilus,
he's going in.
He's going to throw that anchor toss, and if it's a good idea or a bad idea, it does not matter to the world, all right? He is going. He is full Unga, all Bunga, going into the team fights. He is going to run in. Will he die? Depends. When is he going in? Is there a tower there? He might just dive underneath the tower. Does he not know when the right position? Is his team with him? Probably not. Probably so. You get one or the other. There's a snap engage that comes from him, and I imagine that comms are just like, guys? And that's all I can imagine Pluto in some games. But Pluto will have some hero engages. But I cannot forgive some of the int games that have happened.
Pluto might just win you a fucking like game, low key though.
Yeah,
Pluto like with an engage will just win an objective.
There's so many highs and lows, dude. I can't take all the mountains and the valleys, bro.
He's a maniac. Pluto's the type of dude. Ult in, get Renata or Kalista ulted out at like 10 HP, goes back in with the fucking Kalista ult.
He's like, oh, an additional knockup.
Another knockup. Say less, baby. Like I love him though, but like he does have some like maniacal. I have seen some like maniacal fucking flanks from him.
Yes.
Where it's like around Dragon Pit, or he's like hex flashing, or he's playing Rel, and you just like don't know where he is. You see the Vogue, and he just fucking slams down with like a 4-man magnet storm. Like, oh shit. Yeah, they just win the game, by the way.
Yeah.
That's wild. So who's your 3 then? If Pluto's not even in there.
So I have Plutz number 1. Same reason as you. I think Plutz is just really solid, very consistent, very good. Number 2, I had Taponer actually as my number 2.
Wow.
Just because I thought that they were the only person who was playing Karma well when they got their hands on Karma. There's a lot of Karma enters inside the MEC this season. But I actually really enjoyed Taponer. I think Taponer is actually a very good support, very well-rounded. And then I look over for 3rd. I put Fat Cat as actually number 3. Because Fat Cat is a person who has a unique champ pool in the support pool. It's actually getting bans inside of support. Their Bard is getting banned away from them.
Fucking banning Bard.
We saw the Bard game.
Yeah. So Fat Cat's a good Bard, but yeah, that was not a good Bard game. But
it's hard. Bard.
Is it a good game for Bard?
Yeah, that's always the question when you pick Bard, right? Like I play a lot of Bard myself. So like there's a lot of times where I'll just look over and be like, man, are you playing Ezreal or like something where I can just leave you? There's been times where I've been on like a massive loss streak with my friends, and I've just been like, man, I just want to get away from you. I'm gonna play Bard this game. like legitimately, I'm a second jungler.
I need some space. All right.
I'm a jungle main, so you can imagine the way I play support. I fucking leave my AD the moment. I rush movies on every. I don't give a fuck. I'm going top 5 minutes. I don't care.
I used to duo with this one dude who
Oh
used to hate playing with me, but he still kept playing with me because we would win. But like
You just kept dragging him back in.
I would level 3 lock in Nautilus or Blitzcrank. Level 3, level 2, I'd left lane. I didn't care where the lane state was at. I left. I went straight to mid lane and ganked mid right away. My mid laner, my AD carry would be sitting there like a little puppy, like hungry for some little nibbles. Like, please bring me back a treat. Please, the jungler keeps ganking me. Please. The mid laner's swinging through, arms out, just like, excuse me. They're sitting up there 7-0 on like Vigar or something like that. And I'm like, yes, I did my job.
You don't win solo queue by getting your AD carry fed.
You
You win
don't!
solo queue by getting your mid laner and like top laner fed. You as a support can do more psychological damage to the enemy team if you're ganking mid top and they type support gap and shit.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm devious. I will be like, jungle and mid are fighting. I'm playing jungle. Oh no, it's not a jungle gap. Don't worry. Your mid laner's a fucking idiot. I will say it like, I won't say it like that. I'll like
Not to get
like,
chat
stoke
restricted.
the flame. I like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think there was a game just recently. I was playing jungle. There was a Zed was complaining, right? About his jungle. I was like, oh, don't worry, Briar. Your Zed is just like overextending like a dog. And then like Briar's like, yeah, I know, he's really bad. And then I had my mid tell Briar that they're bad and that the Zed was actually good, and then I just stoked the flames.
Support is the best
psychological.
role to
I'm
like
sorry,
stoke the
you went
flames
team
in.
chat? Wait, what are you do? How are you getting
You
so
just
many
go in
chats
chat.
in during the game? What are you doing?
I'm fucking jungle. I'm clearing Gromp and typing.
Yeah.
I'm looks maxing at the same time. I get bro.
Dude, there's nothing more satisfying though than playing support and tilting the enemy team to the point that they start typing in all chat. Like, that's one of the reasons why I like playing Bard. Is I run into the enemy jungle, I just see the jungler like farming camps. I see him about to complete a camp, and I just walk over in auto with like fully stat passive, and I just see him in all. He just stops moving, types in all chat, and I'm like, yeah, I have won a victory.
They stop moving. Yeah, when I path from wolves to raptors, you know I'm typing something in between that shit. Like, it's like 3 seconds. Oh yeah, don't worry. She's really bad. Boom, clear raptors.
All right,
Raptors are red. Min max another statement. Yeah, I'm quick with it, Mac. You haven't played with me.
You guys are devious.
All right.
I don't get this treatment from you in our ARAMs.
Let's real quick.
Exhaust.
Let's real quick talk about our AD carries real quick, because I know that we gotta figure out the last little bit of things here. As I just looked over at the time for it and whatnot.
Yeah, I only have like fucking 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Nightstar, and I think it was Levi Winking for me.
Team.
That was my 3.
About
was
the
that
same for me.
Is that all you? No way.
That order?
I
I didn't do it in that order. I had Levi number 1, and then I had Nightstar number 2, and then I had yeah. I think GVU as a whole is a very good team. I think
nobody in first team.
Nobody in first team for
GVU.
From GVU.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that does kind of encapsulate though the overall GVU vibes pretty well though, right? Because you look at so many of their games and you're like, wow, the 4 or 5 members around River just executed that team fight perfectly.
Yeah.
Like everyone played their part to a T. How do you Pluto engage, Ori ult, Castle's in there, Nightstar is DPSing from the back. That's a lot of GVU games.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that is just because they're not all in my first all team doesn't mean I don't value them. I just think that they are a team that's like you said, the pieces come together to create a greater whole. And I think as a 5-man squad, like if I had to turn around and say, all right, this team is going to stomp, they're the team that's the most likely to take Purdue Northwest into the lower bracket. I feel like.
I thought it would have been really funny if your second team all MEC was just GVU from last year. But I think Yingqual is out and Pluto didn't make it, but it was kind of close.
It was close. It was actually very
close. You got Prank and Castle and Nightstar reuniting.
Yeah.
On a second team all MEC.
Dude,
I don't-
mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, it's pretty much just GVU from days gone.
Yeah, I think for me, the reasoning was just that GVU has Nightstar and they have Jingle, and those are the two that will just win them the game. The thing that comes to me is like when they just like weren't playing the meta stuff and they just played like Rakan Kog'Maw, Rakan Zeri, and Nightstar just like, I'm like, all right, you could just play that and diff the team fights. Like, that's crazy. And this was pre-Kog'Maw buff, right? Like, now Kog'Maw is really good. So now you got to ban it against Nightstar because Nightstar's the only one like
that can play
that's been playing Kog'Maw, yeah. And like Zeri's also coming back up in popularity on top of the Varus, on top of like the Kai'Sa, the Smolder, right? I mean, if you ban Smolder away from Ottawa, what happens? Like, I don't. How deep does Levi go? I just feel like for ONU, their bottom side was not the highlight for me. It is their top side. Same thing with Purdue Northwest. It is their top side. I love Winking. I love Topono. I think they're good and they handle themselves fairly well. But if Klexo and Doubtful cannot do anything, that team doesn't win. And so it's just like different play styles, in my opinion, at the moment. And yeah, I think I have a hodgepodge first team of like Ottawa, Purdue Northwest, GVU, and ONU. I think I have like a decent balance, but third team is, I think, where my shit gets wacky. I don't even remember like all my third team, but I think third team is where I kind of
third team's weird because there's a lot of contenders.
I don't like third team. I don't personally like a third team all pro. I just think it's like, I don't know. First and second makes sense.
I like it because of the podium aspect of it. Like I do.
Oh yeah, like the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I like that because just like picturing it in my head, I'm like, yeah, no, this makes sense. I think third does deserve to be celebrated. It's just difficult, but especially in some of the roles where it's just like you're super congested. Like AD carry, I was just like Nightstar, Levi were like super good, and I'm like, all right, yo, these guys are good. Then there's just like 5 AD carries that are just like chilling there. Like we had similar performances. Like, I think I put Kai as my third, and it was more so like, all right, Kai's had a couple carry games, whereas other AD carries haven't. Or actually, I put Winking probably. It was probably Winking, actually.
I think I put
third.
Winking. I did not put Kai.
Because Winking's been very consistent and has been good. I hold against Winking the fact that they can get leads and then lose them individually.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
So
he does get like randomly caught out.
Yeah, like there's just a moment that lives rent free in my head where they were like 4-0 on Ashe and they died to a like 0-4 Lucian. The moment the supports got away.
That's just Ashe Lucian though, right? Like that's just
Ashe but it's also just like but you shouldn't be in that position, right? You have a free hawk shot. You shouldn't be getting caught out of position like that. Like there should be vision around. You shouldn't be overextending to where a Lucian can find that. It was like a big shutdown bounty. Like I look at moments like that and I'm like, all right, that edges you down. But yeah, I think that's a pretty consistent list, but almost I'd say it's pretty top tier, honestly.
I would say it's very hard. I think any combination of those 4 teams we have in the MEC, if you put any of those guys like first, second, third, it's hard to say vehemently and objectively this guy doesn't belong there. Like I think it's super difficult.
I almost put
Whereas last year
in my my top 3 from I almost did that, like just as an example. Camera was also another person who I almost put inside of my top 3. Like there's just so much talent. There's so much.
I know there wasn't everyone.
Shout out to wasn't a spot.
I don't know.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to all
everyone.
You guys.
Shout out
to love everyone, man.
I feel like MEC was just really fun to cast overall. So in terms of being able to learn the new players, tell the stories of the old players, and see them still keeping on, going on, you know.
Yeah.
I think the MEC community makes this sort of task very challenging. I was sitting in front of my computer quite stumped, like, God darn it. You know, what's that order?
You know what, Mac?
Why did you... Wait a minute. Pause. Why did you
God darn it?
Why did you censor the darn it part?
Mac's an enigma.
God damn it! Little
bit of J in you. A little bit of J.
Just a little J there.
I know there wasn't a section for this. I do want to talk about this before I have to leave.
Yeah.
if there was, who was your MVP? If there was a section, I know there is going to be an MVP section. I think Hyper's doing it.
Mhm.
But he's going to tally it later. Who is your MVP,
Oh,
most valuable
goodness.
player of the regular season? I will drop mine. It was Jinkall. I feel like if you take Jinkall out and you throw him on like BCU, CSU, Cornell, they almost instantly become a top 4 team, like low key.
Mac.
I'm leaning doubtful.
Okay.
Wow, damn, dude, Mac with the jungle pick.
I
MVP.
know. It feels kind of basic to do another.
No. Last year we had Trickster, and I wouldn't even. You're gonna argue Trickster was an MVP last season?
Yeah.
Like most valuable individual player?
It's definitely got to be mid jungle. It's got to be somebody from one of those
Yeah.
two. There's
It's
no
not top.
There's no
Not
room for
AD
the
carry.
others. Dude, that's a hard one. I don't know. Do I have the right to put Jinqual as my MVP when I put him third?
I mean, so you can not have them like all pro or first team, but if you think they are the most valuable,
Yeah, because I put.
there's two definitions, right?
Yeah.
Most valuable in the league and most valuable to their team.
Mine is if you take Jinqual away from GVU, I think GVU turns into a 5th place team.
And I think GVU
Interesting.
turns BCU into like a 3rd place team. If you
I think if you
no
take
offense to
Jinqual,
Cammer.
I think if you take Jinqual and put them together,
On
it's
Drury?
so hard to do though when it's mid jungle, just because like there's so many different variables. I'll have to think about it more, so my vote may change. But unofficially, I'd probably say Jinqual. But I have to think about it more because if you think about it, mid lane's the role that's most affected by like another role in terms of like jungle proximity and stuff like that, and your standing. So
It also has the most agency, right? So
Yeah.
they also have the ability.
I have to think
affect
about it more,
all
but
the
right
lanes.
now, Jinqual probably be my MVP just because of the idea of how bad does GVU look without Jinqual, and I'd say they drop. Because where's your carry threat then? You got to play a protect the Night Star comp every game.
And they know it's coming, so they'll just 5 ban out Night Star. Like, fuck it. They'll 5 ban out Night Star. Like, that's what they'll do. They'll take Zeri, Kog'Maw, Varus, Smolder, Kaisa out of the fucking game. So what does he go to? Misfortune? Like, what the fuck?
Why not?
Like, what do you...
Double tap it. All right.
Vayne? Like, I don't know, dude. All right. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Was
Let's
a
go ahead
quick
and end.
episode.
Yeah, let's end everything off with that. Thank you all for coming on in, and yeah, we'll have more episodes coming on throughout the break, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for more to come across from the MEC pod. With that being said, we will catch y'all next week, same time, same place. We'll see you there.
Bye.